Welcome back to Andrew! It's, oh my god, how long has it been?
Like, I think the last time we had one of these... I think we didn't even do it in person, because it was like...
Oh, yeah.
It was like...
Remember
pandemic stuff, and
yeah.
we were talking
Mandalorian.
about... Yeah, Mandalorian. I had a beard then.
You did?
Yeah.
So, he went in the Marines, so...
They gave me a tag that tells me my blood type.
No. In case he forgets.
In case I was like, what is that again?
He's in the reserves, but he's also in the Tailosive reserves, because we pull you out when we need you.
And I'm going to try and be trying to be around making more videos and everything. But first, did you hear my ASMR?
He's back, baby.
Yay!
And today we're talking Marvel, kind of the state of everything.
I guess, yeah. Because, like, the thing that I thought was the most interesting... Because, like, I think we already knew... after Endgame, it's like, okay, now, like, Endgame, I think, yeah, that's probably the good jumping off point for pretty much everybody who wants to get off the Marvel train, which understandable. I'm like, okay, you had, like, close to 10 solid years of movies, a lot of fun stuff, and then it's like, okay, Thanos is dead, Iron Man is gone, and, yeah, dead, right?
Yeah. No one's ever really gone.
No one's ever really, yeah. But like,
yeah, there was a very clear...
It was solid.
Yeah, leading of characters,
yeah.
Introduction from the beginning with Iron Man.
And, like, I don't know if it's because they, like, Disney and Marvel both just kind of decided to go all in, but it's like, okay, they're still going.
That's what it all led up to, but... Because it had so much momentum, and because there's so many characters that are still alive.
It's the law of physics of, like, objects in motion tend to stay in motion. It's like, okay, but where's it going to stagnate exactly? And it's kind of...
The law of diminishing returns, you could say. Like,
I'm sat here, and, like, okay, so... Keep in mind, I've been away from the real world for about... basically 9 months. Like, when I was in my MOS school, I had access to the internet and my phone and all that, so it's not like I was, like, totally on an island, but, you know, for, like, boot camp and Marine combat training, I was genuinely nowhere near anything going on. Like,
you were on a media island.
I was on a media... I was just in purgatory. That's the way I described it.
So but it's safe to say... Neither of us have kept up with every single piece of Marvel content.
Like I'm doing my thing to kind of get back into it. Like, there were a couple times when I was really bored on Camp Johnson, where I was like, I'm gonna watch this or that and see what's going on. Like, I got a kick out of Shang-Chi. I was like, okay, that's different.
I liked Shang-Chi.
I watched the second Doctor Strange. I was like, Sam Raimi needs to do more of these.
I was just in it for Raimi, really.
Yeah,
I wasn't terribly interested in nothing. So much that's happened after Endgame has gotten my attention or like gotten me really excited. Aside from No Way Home, but have you seen that yet?
I did watch that. Okay, I was like, okay, that's solid. Like, I would have liked more of just the spider dudes throwing down.
That was so golden.
That was great.
That almost didn't feel like MCU.
No, it didn't.
It felt like a love letter to Sony. Because they had, Sony and Disney had that whole falling out.
Well, because Sony still owns the property rights,
right?
The intellectual property rights to freaking Spider-Man. So that's what it felt like.
It's a collaboration, and Disney was propping it all up.
Yeah,
like, how great was Garfield and Maguire? And they're great.
They were really fun.
They handled that all well, but it absolutely felt like okay, no one remembers you anymore.
Let's get you up to speed, basically.
And we have to separate you from the rest of the MCU at this point.
I really appreciate that they did that.
Yeah.
Because, like, the thing that I've heard from at least a couple people, like, especially when I used to watch Linkara a lot, which I haven't done for a few years, because he just reviews comics. And he talks about how, like, especially with One More Day, where it's like, the devil says to give up your marriage to save Aunt May. Even though Aunt May is already, like, kind of accepted that her time has come and she wants to be with her husband in heaven, so it's like, Peter Parker, what are you doing? Joe Quesada, stop it. But, like, something that Linkara once said is that the problem with Spider-Man is that he's often too much treated as just an escapist vehicle character for the writer, right? Because who doesn't want to be the guy who, in a tight spot, he could be witty, he could be charming, he could be fun, he's got these cool aerobatic super strength web powers, stuff like that.
Right.
And then he's also, like, just kind of the average everyman. It's like it's like the comic book equivalent of when a manga or an anime has, like, some nerdy dude with like no personality traits besides I'm kind of shy, and then he's handed a harem of women from like different whatever. It really is that. And what I loved about No Way Home is that it actually treats Spider-Man like an adult.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Peter Parker in the MCU straight up said, like, you know, he has a chance to go back to his friends and try and build that. He's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that to them.
Right.
I tried it once. It didn't work. I'm just going to do my thing. And he chooses the... It's almost like what happened at the end of the first Spider-Man movie that Raimi directed. And it was like, you know, this is my gift. This is my curse. Except Mary Jane doesn't remember Spider-Man at all now.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right. Nothing.
And I was like, okay. That was actually cool. And
it was. And it felt like a love letter to all three movies with all their villains.
It did.
And fixing them and even closing plot holes and like addressing character arcs that were not addressed because all these movies kind of ended before. Like the Maguire and Garfield did not know they were the last movie. They thought they were going to get another one.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
And then it just drops off and you're like, oh, okay.
Right. Right, there were all plans for a Maguire 4.
That's why
that got
I remember that. I remember like it's like 2008, 2009. I'm like, what? Probably what am I? 16 at this point? Probably now. 2010 almost.
Imagine us hanging out at that point.
Oh God, that would have been. But no, I remember reading. I was like, "You mean I was gonna get a fourth one? What the heck, man?"
It's gonna be Vulture, I think.
I think you're right.
That's almost its own universe. I feel like there's a Spidey cinematic universe which I wonder because Sony owns.
I wonder, are they gonna bring it back?
I think that No Way Home was so successful they have to do something with it. But I think at this point it's got to be separate. Like,
it has to be.
But the MCU, it keeps trying to find its voice, you know. Like I think Doctor Strange is trying to be the next
Iron Man.
Because
especially I think in the comics, it wasn't even Iron Man who was a founding member of like the Avengers. It was Doctor Strange, if I remember right.
Oh, that I don't know.
I think I don't know.
I would trust you on it because you're more into the comic books.
And that's another thing. Like, the thing that I've seen a lot of people talk about is that Marvel definitely has like creative sterility. Like after a certain point, it's like, okay, yeah, and they all feel the same, and I think that's kind of why
they borrow from each other because they have a formula that works.
Like, I remember I was watching the guy who runs both Alternate History and Pointless Hub.
Oh, okay.
And he was talking about it in relation to The Boys, right?
Yeah.
And how the MCU is one of those things that it's become so successful and run for so long, it's actually developed its own tropes that everyone can kind of point out. Like, for instance, one of the things he points out is unnecessary humor.
Oh, yeah.
Not every scene has to have a quick joke or a jab at something. It doesn't.
That was a very common criticism of the latest Thor.
Yeah, exactly.
Was a lot of people said that it was
just
unnecessary jokes.
Like, we get it, Waititi. The goats scream. That was funny, like, for 5 seconds in 2013.
Yeah.
I remember those 5 seconds because I was like, okay, anyway.
And the Taylor Swift mashups and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. There's definitely a formula that everyone picks up on that it's clearly successful. You get a lot of sales because Marvel has this calculated formula. It's almost like fast food.
Yeah.
It's like we have this recipe and we have to stick to it of certain amount of action, certain number of celebrities, but it can't take itself too seriously. We have to joke a certain amount of times.
And that's why, like, I know a lot of people, especially like serious Marvel fans who like everything has to be the same no matter what. They like when
that watch every single
like when Sam, like, the thing I love most about stuff like WandaVision in particular, or
I liked WandaVision.
I liked WandaVision a lot.
Yeah.
Or Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and all that. What I liked about it is that it really did feel like the people making it actually were told, like, go. You have these things you can't do, but like, go a little nuts. I want to see what you come up with, right?
Right.
And like WandaVision being this weird, just I don't even know if it deconstructs anything. It's just like an homage to a bunch of sitcoms that.
Yes.
I thought that was fun, but like, there's just this subtle underlying like little horror element of like, no, all these people are like imprisoned in their own minds because Wanda is having a bit of a mental episode here.
Right.
And I was like, that's cool. Or Sam Raimi just like being like, you know what? Just or maybe had a moment. Sometimes at this point, I would just do like the whole like. I got an idea, but instead it's just Raimi walks into the room with like just smashes like a vase, just like, what if Doctor Strange makes a cloak of flight with the souls of the damned? Now I'm just like, that's so awesome. Like, it felt kind of out of place, but in a good way. Because at least it feels like...
Felt different.
It felt like these different aspects of the MCU kind of had its own personality to it.
Right.
And I like that a lot, and then people are just like, that was too weird, and it's like, just let people make things kind of cool.
Right.
Really, because like that was a really cool thing. Like, and...
I think... the difference that we're seeing now, and I don't think either of us have as much experience with it, but I think that says something about the MCU, is we're getting to the point of streaming services having a bigger and bigger influence on content.
Yeah.
To where now, you feel like you can't keep up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not just
like,
us.
Phase 4 is like, what is it? It's like, it's WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye.
We have She-Hulk now.
She-Hulk, which
I've seen.
That's another thing I want to talk about. Not necessarily She-Hulk itself, because this goes beyond She-Hulk. I don't like how the Hulk has been treated. It might just because
I feel like he's never been given a fair chance.
It might be because I don't really like Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner.
Oh, really?
I've never enjoyed it. Even since the first Avengers movie, when I saw him, I was just like, no, go back to Edward Norton. Yeah. Literally, go back to the guy whose sole defining point of his acting career is the duality of man in like various stages.
Right.
I'm like, oh, he plays a neo-Nazi who figures out he's kind of a bad person and tries to be better. Awesome. He plays a guy who's hallucinating that Brad Pitt is his spirit animal. Awesome. He is playing what is essentially the modern day Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character. I love it. And then you gave me Mark Ruffalo, and I was like, what the hell is this guy?
I feel like Ruffalo kind of works for the cinematic universe as a side character,
but not as a main character.
I don't know if it would work. I don't know. I feel like it could work if done correctly, but it's just they've never given him a chance. Because the Incredible Hulk was not critically appreciated.
No, it's one of those ones that's kind of, it's almost a sleeper, I guess, as far as MCU movies go, by their standards.
I've never sat down and watched it, but I just know that the critical consensus was that it was not universally liked. I don't think it was a box office hit. And I think the tone of the MCU went in a different direction, which is probably
where it actually started, as far as like the movies can't really be their own thing.
Yeah.
Like it happened much earlier than Endgame, because like I remember, because it was originally supposed to be Edgar Wright who did Ant-Man.
Yeah, that's another one.
And even me being an Edgar Wright fan, I can still watch Ant-Man and be like, okay, I can pick apart the parts they left in, and I can tell.
Right.
I can see it like it's radiation and I'm Superman or whatever the hell, right? I can pick it out and be like, that's Edgar Wright right there.
Yeah.
That bit. Like, they kept in some of the soul, but ultimately Edgar Wright wanted to do his own thing on the side of this, and still find a way of connecting, but I think
it's very clear.
The producers at Marvel were like, no, we gotta go.
To me, what was super obvious was the whole like Falcon involvement. I was like, that's clearly not Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
He did not want that.
He doesn't care about that.
But they were like, no, it has to play a part in a bigger picture. And, I want to give credit to Marvel that the fact that they've made a formula that works and is so likable should be praised.
Yeah.
Because you watch what happens with DC, and you watch what happens with...
And or like with the new Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, God, yeah. Perfect example.
Which is another thing on the side of this.
Apart.
Which is another thing on the side of this I want to talk about a little bit later, but like...
Because it is Disney.
It is Disney, yeah. But so, the thing I think is interesting is that we can talk all day about how... about the shortcomes of The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker... Or
literally all day.
Literally all day.
Yeah.
I could sit here. I could not get up. I could have like bed
or the
sores,
shows,
or the shows, like, or especially Boba Fett. Like, or in some cases Obi-Wan, even though I really liked Obi-Wan. I thought that was awesome.
I think that it should have been a movie, but
I could see that.
But that kind of ties into my point about more and more shows being made. Mm-hmm. If you didn't watch WandaVision and then you watched Multiverse of Madness,
you're just like,
a lot of people are like, who are the kids? And I think that's going to continue to become a growing issue.
Yeah, whereas Star Wars, it's just like, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, awesome! What's he doing?
Where does this take place?
Yeah, he's kind of being a sad boy right now and trying to figure his stuff out. And
all you kind of need to know is where it takes place in the
that's
the timeline.
Like if you've seen A New Hope or if you've seen the prequel trilogy, you're good. That's all.
And that's partly,
and you definitely have, because it's freaking Star Wars.
It is Star Wars.
Would you say, because I believe this wholeheartedly, I think because of the fact that Marvel and DC are even, like, let's be honest, comic books now, even with all the superhero movies and everything coming out, are still a niche thing. That, like, not ever, it's impressive when we find someone, or impressive or sad, depending on who you ask, when you find someone who collects comics to, like, a crazy level, like the comic book guy in The Simpsons or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not...
It's very rare.
It's not mainstream. It's not. As much as we want to say, like,
watching it is.
Yeah. But
the comic books, no.
Watching it is not. Like, everyone, like, your random, high school jock that you might have known when you first started watching Marvel, who said, like, my favorite superhero is Iron Man, has probably never picked up an Iron Man comic in, like, the last 60 years of Marvel making them.
The comic books are niche.
The comic books are niche. But Star Wars doesn't have that problem.
No.
Because everyone at some point has seen the original trilogy or the prequels.
It's almost like disgustingly common.
It is. It's like
a subculture of people that put the stickers and they buy the merch.
It's such a weird mirror of itself, because on one hand, because Disney both owns these properties now.
Yes.
And on one hand, you have people who are sick of Marvel. They're fed up with it because, like, they're not getting... There's, like, all the time crunch culture of video effects being not properly done, and they have to work
that's showing now.
A 96-hour work week just to make it happen.
Well, it's just the sheer amount.
Yeah, that too. But then you have people on the other side working at Star Wars, and, like, who's really going to be mad if they're working a Star Wars show? Really? Even if it's...
You can't get that mad.
Like,
even if it's a terrible show.
I don't care if I watched, like, The Last Jedi after the fact of working on the set and being like, oh my god, this is terrible. I'd still be like, I worked on a Star Wars movie.
You still get to say, like, the experiences you had on the set, I'm sure, were timeless. Yeah. You got to see Mark Hamill. You got to see R2-D2.
You got to meet, like, C-3PO, and the freaking Chewbacca, all that stuff, and
all that is worth it in itself.
I'll be honest, like, I would. Like, if I saw... Like, I'm the kind of guy, if I see Kermit and I see the guy holding him, I'm not addressing the man, I'm addressing the frog.
Yeah.
I would do the exact same thing with R2-D2. I would just be like... I'm like, oh my god, R2-D2.
Right.
I'm such a fan.
Yeah. That's true.
But no, it's so weird how, like, Marvel has... It's almost like its success is its undoing.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I'm surprised we talked so long before I got to ask you this, because as soon as you said, like, I want to do a video on Marvel, like, the word you used was decay.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the shows are particularly, like, terrible. And again, I won't comment on all the new Marvel shows because I haven't seen all of them.
I'm still trying to cover ground because I'm
getting bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I'm hearing what people are saying, and I'm seeing clips and going, wow, that looks bad.
Yeah.
Or wow, that looks kind of interesting. But there's definitely been a lot of complaining about, like, the quality taking a dive when they're making as many shows.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fundamental problem of doing more streaming shows because you encourage... further seasons. The membership model is not about convincing someone to buy a movie.
It's about giving them what their money's worth, basically.
That, and also don't cancel your subscription.
Yeah.
So the plot of those subscription-based shows have to keep you watching.
Yeah.
Which encourages the plot, in my opinion, to not have a proper beginning, middle, and end. It's like, how do you keep it going?
Yeah.
We need you to have a hit show with 6-8 seasons.
Yeah.
And even if the show kind of runs out of things to document or doesn't have
you
that
find
much,
something else to jump
it's
onto.
like we need you to come back. Cliffhanger.
I think that's exactly what happened with like the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Because like Clone Wars season 7 was phenomenal. I thought that was a really good way of wrapping up a show that was like universally beloved by everyone who's ever watched it. Like, does it start off as like kind of a goofy little kids show? Yeah.
Very passionate following.
Very passionate following though, because it like actually it's the same thing as like The Last Airbender. It treats its kids like they're little adults in the making.
Right.
And then it makes the last season, which is just a good send off to the series itself, and then they move directly into Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which they like introduce, I think, as just a thing on the side. But then they're like, no, people really like this. Let's make something happen with it.
Sure.
And then it's the same thing as like, okay, where does this start in Star Wars lore?
Yeah.
Anyone's gonna watch it from there. Just like, okay, so this happens immediately after Order 66. Mm-hmm. I'm caught up. Awesome. But I don't know. Like, I genuinely wonder if it's something. I remember one time I said something about how Rick and Morty's main problem is that it doesn't. It needs to expand or it's going to die.
Yeah.
And maybe it will. Maybe I'm just hopeful it'll die at this one because I can't stand it anymore. But I feel like the problem with Marvel is that it's expanding, but it's also just, like I said before, it's the creative sterility of it's got to hit a certain set of beats, and then it's just going up to the next movie, and then the next movie, or the next streaming show, and it's like, guys, what are we doing here?
It's hard to top what happened in Endgame because
really
that was such a universe level threat and risk, and they had this blip and everything, and I guess that was another big question I wanted to ask you was, and I'll preface this with like knowing the success they've had, and also I don't know if you saw Eternals, but
it's actually funny you say that. So when I was flying back home from North Carolina, I was like, you know what? Most of the flight, I tried catching a little bit of a nap because I was really tired.
Sure.
But I think the longest flight was probably from Chicago to Sacramento.
It was an eternal flight.
It felt like an eternal flight. And the thing about it, that is, I actually had some stuff like download. Like I bought a little Fire tablet because they were like $50 in a PX. I was like, wow, this will be a cheap way of watching something. What the hell? And I thought to myself, you know what? Why not? I'll see if I can give Eternals a shot. 7 minutes. In 7 minutes, Eternals did nothing to
capture. You walked out.
I walked out of the plane. I opened the door and I was like,
I can't finish this.
But no, like it should say something that I'm in a trapped environment. I am 30,000 feet up in the air
with nothing to do.
There's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
There's no way I can run up and down and go for a walk. I am stationary for 4 hours. And hey, I'm the kind of guy who I can be alone with my thoughts, and that's entirely fine by me. But the fact that you have me, I'm like the most captive audience you could have right there, and I couldn't even make myself want to watch something more than 7 minutes out of sheer curiosity. I was like, Marvel, bro, what the hell?
We had
and I sat through Captain Marvel, for God's sake.
Yeah, I remember. Was I with you that time?
I think you were.
We got gift cards to Regal Cinemas, and it was our anniversary, and we wanted to go on a date, and we were like, let's go to the theater, and nothing we were interested in was playing. We were like, I don't know what to watch. I guess Eternals, that's Marvel.
Yeah, why not?
Let's watch that. So we got as many snacks as we could. We got the big reclining seats.
Yep.
And we were like, I don't care what we're watching. This is just fun because we're comfortable and we got all our snacks and it was free. But I was so insanely bored. And what killed me was there's some really good actors in that. Kumail Nanjiani is a fantastic actor. I love him.
What?
And Angelina Jolie has done some incredible work.
Wasn't Salma Hayek in it too?
I can't remember, but yeah, probably.
Now I gotta look it up because I know the roster wasn't bad. It was a really good lineup of cast.
Yeah, but that was one of the movies that I felt like was limited by the fact that it was in the MCU.
Yeah,
it felt like they were trying to talk themselves out of, well, we're only supposed to protect the world from
I forgot Kumail. How do you say his name? Kumail
Nanjiani, I think. Is how you pronounce it. But,
okay, that's what you're just saying. Okay.
He's like one of my favorite comedians, and he's a fantastic actor.
He is a good actor
in a bunch of movies I've seen, particularly The Big Sick. And
that's right.
I love him in that movie. But he's been in a bunch of stuff that I'm a fan of.
But like just couldn't.
And I was like, they just don't have like these actors just don't have character. Like, and that's one issue I take with Doctor Strange is it feels like Iron Man minus the charisma. He's just kind of like straight man. He's like serious and
straight man who's like
kind of a little quippy, but wants to do the right thing.
Yeah, ultimately he's just like, I don't need to deal with this crap.
He's just kind of annoyed with everybody. Yeah. And I think he works a lot better as a side character in like Spider-Man. It works because he's kind of like infinite plot device man. Yeah, right. He can just be like, oh, we need to bring all of the Maguire characters back. That's a spell.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me cast my Raimi spell and my Mark Webb spell.
I still enjoyed him.
He's good.
I didn't, but then I think about like in the first movie and like in the second one, I'm like, okay, at least in this one I can tell he's annoyed, so he's just being annoying right back.
But he's no RDJ to me.
He's no Robert Downey Jr.
But he's a great and that's not a fault of Benedict. I love Benedict Cumberbatch, but he's just not written in a way that can take advantage of that.
Yeah,
a character in the same way that I loved Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Like that's still my favorite. But the question I was going to ask you, because it does relate to Eternals.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is should the MCU story be endless, or should it ever have an end?
It needs to stop somewhere.
So like your answer is yes. It needs to stop at some point.
Besides, in a vacuum of space, like nothing can keep up with the momentum forever. And like even in space, eventually, theoretically, you have to assume that, like, okay, because I'm me and I like gun stuff. I shoot a Glock in space, and there's a 9mm bullet hurtling through the void.
Yeah.
Theoretically, at some point, it's gonna hit something and stop.
You think? Yeah.
Theoretically.
Endless enough.
Like,
universe.
It can't just keep on going forever. It's gonna like burn up in the atmosphere of some other planetoid, or it's gonna hit an asteroid, and that it's just gonna. There you go, dead track. But like.
And do you think that should have been Endgame, or is there more to be said, more to explore after
there are definitely other threats they could handle, but at the same time, like, no, like, it was always building up to Thanos.
And even from the beginning, because it all started with Iron Man, essentially. Yeah. I know No Way Home kind of changed that. Yeah. Technically it started, but that's its own thing. That's just Sony being Sony. But it all really started with Iron Man, and the Endgame was the final story.
Yeah, that was like the final character development of like Tony Stark, basically.
Right, and they I think were right to put an end to, and also Cap's story as well. The Steve Rogers plot. I think those two characters really got a great final conclusion.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't think Iron Man should have kept going.
No,
I don't think RDJ should have. I think they chose the right time. Right way.
I can appreciate them like kind of trying to like pick up a few trailers. Like, okay, Guardians 3, I'm watching that.
Oh yeah.
Because they already had something set up well before the freaking Endgame credits rolled.
Sure.
Or I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that was enjoyable. Mm-hmm. There's little things here and there that I'm like...
There's value in continuation.
There's value in some continuation, but the problem is that they're just now taking any character they can. Like, I don't think anyone was really clamoring for She-Hulk. As someone who can
feel bizarre.
As someone who can appreciate big, strong women, I don't think anyone was really clamoring for that one.
Not the twerking scene.
That's just trashy. Like... Is it wrong to be attracted to women? No, that's just trashy as hell. What are you talking about?
It's just I didn't
be mad, weirdos.
It
just felt so forced.
It is feeling.
And I haven't even watched the show. I'm just watching it like
I'm getting clips here and there, and I'm still just like I don't want to watch that. I don't care what the context is. I'm not interested.
It also doesn't help when the character herself is just a blatant mouthpiece for the disgruntled rioter, and it's like, I don't believe you're happy. Please stop.
I don't even get bothered by that so much. I'm just kind of sick of I think that the lawyer shows are being overdone. But that's partially because I'm just such a big Better Call Saul fan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stop trying to be Better Call Saul. You're not good. What's the Key and Peele skill? Key and Peele skit. Where she goes, shut up! You will never be Troy. It's like me. Shut up, Marvel! You will never be Vince Gilligan.
Yeah, there's
you can't be Better Call Saul. Stop trying.
I'm just thinking about, just like what is it like? Broke DC Extended Universe, woke Marvel Cinematic Universe, bespoke Vince Gilligan.
Yeah. He can do the lawyer stuff right.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch anybody else try it.
I was so disheartened when I saw that article someone wrote about how, like, we wanted to do a big, rousing courtroom speech scene, but we didn't know how to do it. Like, why would you broadcast that? That's like going into a war movie and saying...
out there?
That's like going into a war movie and being like, we didn't really know how to portray the Battle of the Chosen Reservoir or something like that. Yeah. Like, really?
Well, and now it's kind of redundant because Daredevil's back.
Yeah, and
Did you hear about that?
I'm not sure how you feel about that either, because like
the actor said it's not season 4,
which makes me
it's its own thing,
which makes me nervous.
That annoyed me further because I was like,
no, season 4 was good.
Are you retconning?
Or season 4 would be really good. Yeah.
Are you retconning the Netflix part,
right?
Or which I'm annoyed by because I thought those Netflix shows were really good, but they just didn't want to interweave them in the MCU very much.
Yeah, it was its own. There's a good form of continuation. It could just be on the side. Like Daredevil was a fantastic show. Mm-hmm. Oh my god! When I found out that, like at the end of season 3, when I found out it got canceled, I was like, no,
yeah.
I need him to be fighting Bullseye again. Like, that was so cool. Mm-hmm. And I love the actor for it. I love the actor for Foggy. I love the actor for Karen. I love the person who got Elektra.
Yeah, yeah.
I loved everything about it. It felt like someone, like, I've never read the Frank Miller run of Daredevil, but I know that's what a lot of that was inspired by. Mm. And, like, everyone agrees, like, Frank Miller Daredevil back in, like, the 80s and 90s, that was, like, freaking...
top-notch.
Top shelf level of Daredevil writing.
Sure.
And then they're trying to go, it sounds like they're trying to go the Mark Waid route, which people are just like, please stop taking things I love and destroying them.
Right. It was cool to see more of those actors come back with the Kingpin reveal in Hawkeye.
Yeah.
But, because I love that actor. I'm
Vincent
blanking
D'Onofrio.
Yes. Yep. He's a fantastic actor.
He was great.
So I was glad to see him come back, but I still come back to that question of just like...
What's the point?
Can there be another Endgame level of closure to the universe?
Well, what weirds me out, especially about the last Thor movie, I was like, so let me get this straight. You're just going to casually toss in eternity. Literally the entire universe and the all of time in its... as close to its anthropomorphic personification as we can understand as limited... 3-dimensional beings, you're just gonna freaking throw that in there, and like that's not gonna be the like a big bad or anything. Like no, it's just kind of there.
It's just there.
It's just that was okay.
Yeah, like maybe the question we should ask is like, is there value in shows from Marvel that are not based in the cinematic universe? Can that help them or hurt them more?
What we're really asking here today, folks, is do you want to watch the Baby Groot shorts?
It's the whole video. It's a like 90-minute discussion. Yeah. Do you want to watch Baby Groot shorts?
Baby Groot takes a bath. Here's what I didn't like about that.
We're going to do 90-minute reviews on Baby Groot takes a bath.
It's just so puzzling to me because like I want...
Because the CG teams aren't overworked enough already.
Yeah!
Make this tree bathe! Okay, 96-hour work week. Here we come. God. It's just animating trees.
And it's so weird because, like, especially like that one, I think it was like a GQ thing where, like, Takai Waititi, what's her name, Tessa Thompson, and maybe Natalie Portman, I think, were all just, like, pointing out mistakes in the CGI, like, oh, you got some balls to do that. To be like, here's how you messed up, and you're like, 96-hour work week or whatever crazy amount of hours you're working to get this thing to the cutting room floor. And I'm like, bro,
bro.
Not even bruh.
Bruh. Right, because that's what Hulk said.
Oh, I hate that so much.
I love it. I'm sorry.
It's just...
I just want memes. That's the only good I can get out of this. But
yeah.
So I think I'm in agreement with you that I think there should be a work towards an end.
It's
I don't know when.
I don't know when either. Like I'm over here like so.
Phase
like,
10.
Yeah, I'm like, is it gonna be Kane? Is it gonna be Secret Invasion? Like at some point this has to stop. There has to be an end point because like the actors are. It's like they're just doing their thing, and it's like okay. I mean,
all good things, right?
I'm over here like okay. I guess the Kang setup in the Loki show was kind of cool, but I'm like, is that the is that the next Avengers villain? What's going on here? Like.
Right, because a lot of characters, as Marvel has shown, and actors, both get tired and both kind of reach an arc and a conclusion to their story. You know, I don't know if Paul Rudd wants to play Ant-Man for the rest of his life, even though he's an immortal actor.
He is. He has not aged since like 1995.
Paul Rudd could probably play.
If you look at him when he was in Clueless and look at him now, I don't know if you could tell me when they shot each.
Right.
I don't know.
It wouldn't shock me to know that any actor in the MCU right now may reach a point where they're like, I don't want to keep doing this.
Like they're like,
I think I'm done.
They're like, this was fun. I'm out.
And
bye.
MCU is so large, so many stories, so many shows and movies that you're kind of running out of, mainstream actors.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, I was just like, oh god, this is getting a little out of hand, guys.
It's getting hard to follow further and further of like, oh, I need to watch that and I need to watch that.
I feel like
they're harder to enjoy when the visual effects teams are so stretched.
Yeah.
The writing teams are so stretched that I don't know.
They're all just like hopped up on Adderall and coffee and they can't even keep up then.
Gotta animate another one. So I'm...
Oh boy, here I go animating some twerking again. Like the animators probably hate their life now.
I wanted to see Hulk twerk, just not She-Hulk. I wanted to see Mark Ruffalo twerk. I thought that would have been funny.
I'm gonna have to watch She-Hulk just to like see how bad it is. Not even hate watch, just like as a study to be like,
Still to this day, the best video on this channel is Supergirl is awful. Don't watch it. I think we need all of Dan's opinions on female-led TV shows.
Like, it's so funny to me that like someone put a meme on Twitter about it a week or two ago, and it's like women as written by men. It's like Sarah Connor, freaking Mulan, Ellen Ripley, all these like really cool freaking women who are just icons in sci-fi, and then it's like women written by women. It's just She-Hulk twerking. Or Captain Marvel. I'm like, oh my god, it's sad but true.
There's something to that.
There's a video I'm gonna have to do. Maybe I'll do that video today, and like, it's like talking about how it's very sad to me that it seems like most women who write other women and try to be mainstream, or maybe it's like men writing women, they don't really understand what makes it cool.
I think it's a bit of both.
Probably a bit of both. Where like they're just basically writing a male character but with like a female skin.
Yeah.
Instead of like
didn't a woman write Wonder Woman?
A woman did write Wonder Woman.
Yeah, which was really good.
That was really well done. Yes.
That was
or at least a woman directed it.
Yes.
I was like, okay, Patty Jenkins.
Fantastic.
Good job.
Well done. Yeah.
I'm just like, my wife was just like, most accurate thing in the world. She could still want to kick all kinds of butt and be a freaking warrior lady, but give her ice cream, and she's like, you did this very well. And I'm like, okay, I agree with you, honey.
I love that movie. But
there's a whole talk on femininity I'm probably gonna do later today in a different video on my channel where I can actually
mansplaining.
Yeah, mansplaining.
That's his new podcast. I'm Dan. Welcome to Mansplaining. Yeah, but anyway, I do think you're onto something with there needs to be a closure.
Like,
I'm not sure when, because They are obviously expanding in so many directions right now.
Maybe it'll just collapse under its own weight, and that'll be the closure.
I wouldn't want it to end that way.
I
don't want it to die on a whimper, and like the MCU ends with one spin-off show that no one really watches. It's like, oh yeah, it's technically still going with Secret Invasion season 7.
Yeah,
and it's the Skrulls are just hanging out in a sitcom somewhere. Yeah. That's technically canon. But no, I think there should be like an intentional build up to
just the end.
An end, and we say this is how the MCU concludes.
Oh God, make that a thing.
And multiverse, you can bring back all the actors as like a last hurrah. Kind of like how you gotta bring back Michael Scott for the end of The Office. Not to do anything cool, just to
like, cameos. Hi!
Yeah, I also exist. And
I am also a thing.
I benefited a lot from the MCU, so I'm here for the finale, and you just have kind of a big... the credits for Endgame, where everyone had their signatures? Mm-hmm. You have a big moment like that with the Avengers theme, and...
That'd be cool.
Just a formal conclusion, and we say, okay, we're gonna pursue different stories, or... But, Marvel's going to pursue what financially makes the most sense for them. And maybe there's an argument to be made that continuing the cinematic universe endlessly is their best financial move.
Yeah.
Or could it not be? Do you think it would lose people at a certain point?
I don't know. It needs to end at some point because, like, I don't know. It bums me out because I'm like, I loved watching these when I was in high school, or I was just... early college. I was like, oh, heck yeah, I'm going to go watch the new Marvel movie with my friends. Now I'm just like, oh, God, another one. Please stop.
They've pioneered this cinematic universe.
They have?
And I really think no one has topped them. I don't think anyone else has really built a cinematic universe that can rival it, or comes close to the scale, or Star Wars is kind of trying and failing.
Well, Star Wars is... kind of, yeah.
It's all just shows, really. They've kind of all given up on the movie concept, and a lot of the shows I don't think.
Well, and they've got other media too, like Jedi Fallen Order is in canon.
That's true.
It's a canon game in the Star Wars universe. There's a lot of
Marvel doesn't have really games in the cinematic universe.
Not good ones, no.
No, not really.
Like they
noteworthy.
They were part of that trend for a while there, in Phase 1, where it's like, yes, it is the 7th generation of console gaming, and therefore a movie has just been released. How would you like to play a game based on that movie that we crafted in 90 days with poor Unreal Engine and Unity assets?
Right.
Like no one actually goes home and says to himself, you know what? I want to play Thor the video game.
Right. Right. There's the Spider-Man games, but those aren't based.
No, they're just its own thing, and they just seem friggin' awesome.
So yeah, Star Wars has some things going for it, but they've kind of given up on the films.
Probably because they're like, maybe we like try and come at this from a different angle, because like episodes 1 through 6, I'm like, okay, no, like, yeah, that works. But what I think works better about Star Wars versus Marvel is that Star Wars, there's like that main plot thread of finding Anakin on Tatooine, and then second Death Star explodes on Endor.
The Skywalker Saga.
The Skywalker Saga.
I like how you don't count 7 through 9.
But so
the jury's out on if those are canon.
Everyone has probably wanted to like kind of have an escapist fantasy of some kind in the Star Wars universe in some way, but they just either they don't know what they would want to do, or when they get handed the keys, they don't realize initially that they're being handed the keys. Like when Pedro Pascal was originally brought into the room with Jon Favreau, he's just looking at all this concept art like, whoa. Yeah. It's like, what do you want me to be? Like, am I going to be that worm thing? Am I going to be that alien? And Jon Favreau's like, no, you're the star. You're the Mandalorian. And he just gets all emotional. And it's like, dude.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that.
Yeah.
Meeting. That would have been incredible to watch.
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when George Lucas was not even talking to, just talking at Dave Filoni.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dave Filoni's like, I guess I'm George Lucas now.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
Here's the keys.
Yeah.
Right. Have fun.
Do you have anything else you want to add to this? Because I think we've kind of said most of it all. Like, it needs an endpoint. There's some good stuff in there, but at a certain point, people are just gonna get sick of it anyway. So
yeah,
like,
I feel like it's lacking the likability and the character that the
first 10 years had.
10 years, yeah. I don't feel that same attachment really to any character.
Okay.
It feels more formulaic. It feels more like business as usual, and I don't think it's really at any necessary fault of the writers. It's because it's a continuation. It's because it's been around for so long. It's like when we've seen so many characters come and go and die and come back, you can't be as invested.
It's very sad that the movies are now kind of doing the same thing the comics have for like decades.
You're right. I think you're onto something there of like the fact that comic books are so niche is because they are just iteration upon retelling upon retelling. And the movies and shows could have that same fate if they don't adapt with the times, if they don't change. And I feel like, like the shows are definitely stretching out. You have to turn everything into, it can't just be a 2-hour movie. It now has to be like a 8-hour series.
Yeah.
And you have to turn that into multiple seasons, and sometimes characters just aren't made to do that.
Like Scarlet Witch was interesting. Hawkeye I think is fun. If She-Hulk is like a one shot, that'd be kind of fun. But that's anyway, that's all I gotta say.
Okay.
And I think my throat hurts from rage.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe it's just it could just be that I'm getting older. That should also be a factor.
Don't say that. I'm old.
We're both getting old, and maybe my childhood is still with the original characters. And maybe younger generations are still super interested, and their favorites are the new stuff. So I'm happy for you if you like it, but feel free to weigh in your opinions, and we'll see you for our semi-annual next year. Dan Drew. Bye, everyone.
Have a good one.
Good one. Take care.